The Bigfooty Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, Conda, power. I love the power. I love the power. I love the power.
Well, next pick is St Kilda at pick 17. I'm going to go with probably my favourite player in the draft, and that's Riley Bonner. I think you look at St Kilda's back line. It's probably still a little bit old. You know, Sam Fisher's about to retire. They need someone with the pace and skill to kick out of the defensive 50. I think Riley Bonner's that player. I reckon he's the best kick in the draft. Can hoof at 60 metres and hit it on a dime as well. Good size, 191 centimetres. Might be able to go into the midfield in the future. And look, hopefully if he goes to St Kilda, we might be able to snag him back at some point as well.
I think Riley Bonner's a gun player to have running around in your halfback, your wing to use the footy. No, he's not the inside contested footy player, but he's outside, and as probably been pointed out a million times, he's just as good on his right as his left, and that's just not heard of.
Yep.
Right. I can't remember ever sitting there saying this left-footed can kick on his right as well as his left. I've said it the other way around, but yeah.
Well, I think there's one of those things with St Kilda recently. They had the footage of their team discussing draft selections and trading periods and all that sort of thing, and they're talking about, the reason I remember it is because they're talking about Cameron O'Shea, obviously, and the reasons why they would not approach Cam to trade for Cam over from Port Adelaide, and the things that they liked about him and the things they didn't. And I think that Riley Bonner, you know, if you're not going to get Cam O'Shea on the cheap, then Bonner's probably an upgrade on that. And if Richardson was interested in that with O'Shea, then he's definitely going to be interested in Bonner. So I think that's a fair call. But I also think if Balak is there, I think they might go with him just because he's definitely not going to go anywhere else. I don't know.
Yeah. I just think a defensive group with Carlisle, with Goddard, and Bonner, that's pretty scary. I reckon that's a pretty good defensive group to base your team around for the next sort of 10 years. So
yeah. And one thing with Bonner, you show his highlights for AFL coach, they're just going to go, yes, please. They're going to, and through summer they're going to see his foot skills. He's going to get every chance to play round one.
Yeah,
just because they're going to love his foot skills. And think if he gets the footy, we're in good shape.
Well, he's got the brain as well. Like, he's got really good vision down the field, Bonner. And that's obviously part of it is understanding the game, but also just having that awareness and that brain. You can't train that brain. If you don't have it, you don't have it. So that certainly is what keeps him up in that elite category of players. That is why he's getting drafted this early.
Yep, that's it. First pick 32. Move back to pick 37 with the academy selections. Look, I described this player in our preview as my favourite player in this draft pool, who I picked to go first round, and hopefully we'd be able to snag him back in a few years' time. Well, there's no need. We picked Riley Bonner with pick 37, and I tell you what, you could hear me screaming from China, I reckon. I was that bloody excited.
Yes, how is Kylie?
She was in Adelaide, so it was all right.
Yes.
No.
Oh, stoked. You can't expect to pick a player up like that at that pick. It's like you feel like you've done robbery, like the Crows' former recruiting manager always says.
Yeah, I think that it's a fantastic pickup, and I guess that we are kind of in a position to some extent now that we've picked up Charlie Dixon to sort of pick best available, and I certainly think that's exactly what we did. It is a shame that he's probably a halfback flanker, but I guess that's a couple of years away that he'll actually be a regular in the side, probably. I don't know. Do you reckon he can be a quick starter, Mish, or do you think he'll have a bit of development time?
I think he's more a wingman. I hear of everybody talking about being a halfback. I reckon you want him up on the wing. You want him getting the ball in transition because you want him kicking the ball inside 50.
Yeah.
If he's kicking the ball inside 50 for you, it opens up so many options because if he's carrying the ball and can go left or right, the forwards can lead wherever they want. And he's got that penetration whereby your defenders automatically work on players can kick 50 metres. It's just their subconscious. And when you get a player who can all of a sudden kick 60, the forward kicks to it that fraction of a second earlier and the defender gets caught out of position. And the same thing, if the defenders think he's left footer coming down the field and you lead to the right, you've beaten your defender just because he's just not used to the player. It's like when Mitchell gets the ball for Hawthorn. All they do, defenders are normally running to the normal spot, and all Hawthorn are doing is leading up for the short kick in every angle, and Mitchell finds one. Right. So, yeah, by the time you play with them, I just sit there and go, you just got to work on his ability to get the ball and his ability to get it more often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's 190 centimetres. He's 85 kilos, so he's a really good size. He plays, as we've said, he's played predominantly down back as a creative defender. He's drawn a lot of comparisons to guys like Grant Birchall and our own Jasper Pittard as well. Widely considered the best kick in this draft pool. I had him very high up in my talent list. I thought he was top 10. I reckon he's an absolute gun. Anyone with those sort of foot skills, who's got decent pace, good spatial awareness, excellent vision, and ability to take the game on, is worth a lot in the modern game, in my opinion.
I think that, I do like the idea of him being a wingman, and I guess probably, obviously the fact that he played there, but part of the reason why people are thinking he was a halfback, including myself, is just that concept we all have in our mind now of sort of like the quarterback and halfback flanker, and I can certainly see that, if he can transfer that ability to pick out targets, which I think is probably the strength I've seen, if he can carry that forward and actually bring it up the field. Obviously we'll have to play a forward line to actually exploit it, but that is a pretty tempting thing to imagine, picking out Dixon on the lead, or even, bombing long to John Butcher, who might get a bit of an advantage with that 60-metre kick you're talking about. It'd be nice to see. Well,
it's interesting that the Westies footy manager reckons he's got a thing going as a lead-up forward. He reckons he'd be a better player as a lead-up forward. So, that could be an option as well.
I think he'd lose that ability to really spot up targets to some extent. I don't know.
You reckon if he's playing the old Chad Corns role, up sort of half-forward flank on a wing, that sort of area?
If he's playing that, but if he's playing a Monfries role, then I think he'd lose it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Again, that lead-up forward role is, or as I sit there and say, the link between the backs and the forward lines. It's a pretty similar role. It's just whether you're leading from the forward line up to that position or whether you're running out of defence to that position. It depends what suits your game plan. And I would assume the way Port play, it's more likely to be somebody running out of defence to that position rather than somebody leading up into that position. Because they tend to leave Schultz at centre forward, and Schultz can then run back into the space that these guys have created by running forward onto the football rather than Schultz leading up at the ball.
Well, I guess the question I've got is, he's the best kick in the draft. He's a great size, good pace, great vision. He's got all these attributes. Why did he fall to pick 37? What is it about his game that recruiters weren't keen on?
I would say if you're going to knock him, it's contested footy, and it's high numbers of footy. He doesn't get high. He's not, 30 possession player at the moment. He's not, big pack impact player. Is outside use the football. Now, outside use the ball 15 times isn't overly exciting. Outside get the ball 25 times and use it is exciting.
Yeah. He did average 23 touches a game in the under-18s the SANFL under-18s. He averaged 18 touches a game in the championships and 18 touches a game in the reserves as well. So he gets it enough. If he could get it another 4 or 5 times, I'd be pretty stoked.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. And that's probably the difference between going, what I would say, around pick 20 and going top 10. Is that extra 5 possessions a game, all of a sudden you have that extra impact on a game of footy. It's hard to teach kids to increase their possession rate.
Yeah. Well, I guess part of it comes down to system play, doesn't it? Like, if they can learn the system better and the team is using them effectively, then that could probably bump it up.
Yeah.
I don't know how steady his teams that he was playing in at junior level were. Obviously, inside players are more in a position to just go in and get it. But if you are sort of a little bit outside or receiving or whatever else, then obviously you're going to be a bit dependent on other people around you.
Yep.
That could be part of that.
But also at that level, if you run into the right places, they'll look for you because they know you're good. So they'll trust you. So they'll feed you the footy. So, again, I haven't watched his games live to see how his running position is, but I would say that would be the one slow he's got on him. Now, that can be a minor tweak. It can be a fitness tweak. Because 18 possessions a week in reserves is not a bad output. It's just not grabbing a game by the throat.
So where do we see him fitting in 2016? For me, I think, as you mentioned, Portia, I think he's probably a year or two away from getting sort of consistent, regular AFL footy.
I think it probably comes down to injury.
If he does the right thing...
Yeah. Finish.
Okay. If he does the right thing, I think they'll feed him half a dozen games. If he's coming along, they'll feed him half a dozen games just to get experience in him and freshness into the list and all that sort of stuff. Dare I say, if he can force his way into the best 22 this year, we are not travelling as well as what we should be.
Yeah, I kind of think that it's going to depend on how the club tries to shape him in terms of his development. If they try and build him up as a half-back flanker, then I don't think he'll get a game this year. If they do go for that wing half-forward role and we have similar unfortunate value as far as injuries to Polak and White and maybe Monfries, then there might be a bit more of an opportunity for him to get a game. But I think if he's brought up as a half-back flanker, I don't think he's got much show.
Yep.
This week we will see debuts for two players, Riley Bonner, who we drafted last year, and Will Snelling, who we drafted in last year's rookie draft. Both South Australians. It's pretty good to see them get a game. It's a shame it's the last game of the year, but there we are. Ricky, excited about those two at least?
Would you... God, don't make me sound like a complete pessimist. Of course I am. You would have liked him. You would have liked him in earlier.
I would have liked Bonner in earlier. He gets to retire in the same game that he gets to see a couple of new guys debut, and I think certainly in the case of Riley Bonner, we could expect to see him around the club for a while. I wouldn't be disappointed if Riley Bonner took Schultz's number next year. I think that'd be really a nice thing to do.
Well, that is the perfect segue into my suite, because I tell you what, I've got a raging boner right now for Riley Bonner and
a raging Bonner,
a raging Bonner, and Will Snelling. What a debut by both of those boys. And Snelling had 15 touches and a goal. Did a really decent job and looked pretty set out there. Had a few really good tackles as well. But Bonner's game across half back, like, honestly, see you later, Cam O'Shea. Goodbye.
Yeah.
He's already better than Cam, and he's played bloody 55 minutes of football.
You got to remember, Cam has had good games in defence as well. But more importantly,
he has had good games in defence, but they were about 3 years ago now. So,
more importantly, we're playing against the 17th side in the league, and he had plenty of time. It's not like Gold Coast is pressuring him. So I'm not going to say that he's a shit player or anything ridiculous like that. But we need to keep in context. He's played one game. It was against Gold Coast at the tail end of a terrible season, where they don't have their best side.
Talk it up. Talk it up. Don't talk it down. Well, he is going to be the best player for Port Adelaide.
I hope not.
He's also a sponsor this year, and that may be clouding my view a little bit.
I personally hope that he's not our best player, because I want our best player to be a centre square midfielder or a key position forward.
Not a back flanker.
Not a back flanker. Our best player's a back flanker. I mean, we got away with it with Wanganeen, but, by the time we won a premiership with Wanganeen around, he wasn't the best player, right? It was Treaders. So, no, I hope I don't mind if he's like our best player for a year, like he wins the best and fairest or something, but I don't want him to be our best player.
Yeah. Although he made a few mistakes, and I thought he took the game on and looked quite assured of himself back there, and the fact that he was taking a bit of responsibility back there, I thought was really, really good for a first gamer. So Can't wait to see what he does next year. He has to play every game next year for sure.
And can I say the next thing about Riley Bonner, which is that we had a few people in the camp of saying, we need to get Sam Mays, we need to get Sam Mays, we need to get Sam Mays.
Sam Mays,
instead, we have picked up a budget price equally South Australian player, halfback, that can probably already create as well as he does. So, Sam Mays, mate, enjoy Brisbane.
Could you imagine if we drafted Sam Mays instead of Chad Wingard?
I would be spewing.
Or was that Ollie Wines?
Treadray would
I can't
be
remember which
I think it was an Ollie Wines one. I think it was a Winesy. Yeah. I think we use it as like a backup if Wines didn't drop. Because, I mean, honestly, like, Tumpus I was never as excited about as a lot of people. But then again, I felt the same way about Hartlett. Yeah. James Murray, because I am reading the Spreaker chat, because that's the way it goes. James Murray has said, Bonner's kicks better than Mossoff, our midfield, on his left foot, which makes me feel like we're not the only ones that have drunk a little before this podcast.
I think Jimmy Concepts has also been drinking before the podcast, which is great. Get into the Mad Monday spirit, Jimmy. Get in there. All right, next player is Riley Bonner, who's also 19 years old. It was also his first year on the list as well. He also played one AFL game in the final round against Gold Coast and picked up 22 touches, 4 marks and 6 rebound 50s. Played 16 SANFL games for the year, kicked 2 goals and averaged 17 touches, 5 marks and 4 rebound 50s a game. Like Will, as we said, Riley debuted in his final round. How was his first year at Port?
Good enough, realistically. I think that he's managed to... I don't think he's done anything to deserve it, but I think he's managed to do enough to make all the Port fans go, he's fine. And because we're angry with other flankers, we're all saying he can replace O'Shea and Stewart and, 10 other flankers in our side, which is probably a little bit too much backing for him right now. But I think he's done enough, and he's shown that he's got enough talent and speed, and he's not made any horrible stuff ups that I'm aware of. So, he's come along all right. He's had a good first year at Port Adelaide.
How did you find his first year Magpie performances, Portia?
I didn't. Ask Macca.
Look, they're a little bit up and down at stages. Certainly in the first half of the year, he maybe played a couple of poor Magpies games. But overall, especially in the second half of the season, I thought he was super consistent. And given our injuries and the fact our season was essentially over halfway through the year, and Riley's consistent SANFL form, do you reckon the club stuffed up in not playing Riley earlier? Because essentially, what would you have preferred this year? Is 10 games into Riley Bonner or another 10 games into Cam O'Shea?
Or Paul Stewart.
Yeah.
Well, look, that's really easy, isn't it? Like, it's clear that you want to get those games into Riley Bonner, and because of the way our list is structured, and because certain people in the leadership group or best mates with people that are, and I'm sure they're a really happy family at Port Adelaide right now, but, we should have got more games into Bonner, in my view. There's no reason why we shouldn't have, and it's just a wasted opportunity.
Well, I think Tom Cleary and Logan Austin showed what can happen if you get some games into these young guys, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Well, maybe the club thought maybe it was just one youngster too far. I don't know. I can't see any sort of legitimate reason why he wasn't played earlier, unless they thought his body wasn't up to it or something like that. But for me, that's the biggest misstep the club took, certainly on field this year, is that we didn't give Riley enough game time.
Yeah, well, I mean, this goes back. This is not my memory. This is my mum's memory. But talking about John Cale and saying, he never was afraid to play a young player. And from what I saw, that was pretty true. When he started with the Power, he was right. With the Magpies, he was always having players come through. That's how you get guys like Nathan Buckley come in, and I think Bruce Abernathy debuted in a final, and there's a whole bunch of stories of the young guys at the Magpies in the old days getting a run pretty early on. Yep. And at the Power, we don't do that. So
look at Andrew McLeod and Cockatoo Collins and all sorts.
Absolutely,
lots of teenagers played in premierships.
Yeah, heaps, and we don't let them play AFL games at the Power. Why?
Well, I think since Choco, we've almost been too scared to do it.
We are.
We haven't really shown confidence.
That's not true.
No.
Pardon? Primus tried it. Primus did it.
Tried it. Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we owe a bit to him for that, quite frankly.
Look,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There's some players that we've done it with. You look at Impey, like he played 18 games in his first year, so we have done it sometimes. I don't know.
It usually when forced.
Yeah, usually when forced, I guess. But we were both really keen on him in his draft year, and pretty stoked we got him, Portia. How do you feel 12 months down the track?
Yeah, pretty good. I think in the drunk cast, I made a pretty clear statement on that, which was about Sam Mays and everyone saying, get Sam Mays, get Sam Mays. Well, he was a pick 6, and I reckon Riley Bonner will top him.
Yeah.
So, I'm pretty stoked.
For sure. So, what does he start round 1 next year?
Yep.
I reckon he does too.
It depends. Do we? It depends on how many flankers we get rid of in this trade period order list.
Yeah, I think he has to, just for the, I don't know, for the feng shui of the side and trying to get some youth
the
into
vibe
this
of the
team.
thing.
The vibe. It's all about the vibe.
Daryl
And
Cunningham,
Marvo,
thanks.
get him in. Play these kids. I'm going to go and masturbate in the toilet for 5 minutes. I mean, this is incredible. Baked Beanhead, you little ripper.
Look, Macca, I guess my question to you is, are we going to lock in you saying that Marshall is going to be the next Treadray?